think the DPO roles is as a checkbox is just a poor governance.
Yes.
That leads to a legal liability.
Yeah. Welcome to Season 2 of the Legal Insight podcast produced by HHQ. And now you're tuning into episode 24, which is also the second episode of our exclusive and very special edition Malaysia PDPA Authority Series, in which we are featuring none other than the legendary Prof. Dr. Nazri, the former Personal Data Protection Commissioner. So I'm Johnson, the host of this particular episode, and I'm the head of the Technology Practice Group. And as usual, I'm joined by our very, very good looking and my good friend, Kai, the co-head of the Technology Practice Group. And we are extremely honored to have Prof. Nazri joining us in this very special edition of Malaysia PDPA Authority Series. So if you are listening to the episode and yet you did not listen to the first episode, in which we will be talking a lot about the PDPA landscape that's happening in Malaysia, especially 2025, you have to pause and then you have to click on the link below and then make sure you listen to the first episode. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you are missing out big time. So right now, with the mandatory appointment of DPO, initially they are circular and their guidelines being published. And then at this time of recording, in fact, just a few days ago, there are 3 new PDP, or we call it the DPO related guidelines and policy, or otherwise we call it documents. They have just been released as well. Number 1 is a DPO competency guideline. The second one is the management of training service provider, DPO training service provider guideline. And last but not least is a DPO professional development pathway and training roadmap, in which actually both Kai and I, we have the absolute honor to be invited by Prof. Nazri to actually join the drafting committee to actually draft, revise, review, and ultimately launch these 3 PDP guidelines and also documents. Today, we will be really going deep into this DPO appointment requirement, because as we know that this is a very important requirement, and yet a lot of companies, they are still having a fair bit of confusion. So we just want to say thank you very much for joining us and welcome Prof. Nazri and so Kai joining us in this episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here with Prof. Nazri.
Yeah, so Prof, as we all can tell, in fact, in the very first episode I actually asked you this question, if there is actually one most significant change that you see will actually move the needle, and then your answer will be the appointment of DPO.
Yeah.
And yet in Malaysia, they are still struggling. Some companies say that, look, they already have a big compliance team. They have a big legal team. They have a team of 20 lawyers. So they're asking, why do I need to appoint one DPO? That's at the moment is a data breach. They can send the 20 lawyers go and answer to JPDP. They can send the 20 lawyers to assist in investigation. Why do they need a single DPO? Especially under the circular and the guideline, they make it very clear. The DPO will be the main point of contact with the PDPC and also the JPDP. Similarly, when it comes to DSR, the DPO will be the main key person. So, Prof, can you really explain to us the real intention and most importantly, the real purpose of the concept so that they understand what is so special about this DPO appointment in Malaysia?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Fantastic questions. I think many people already talk about DPO. Maybe I can share during our drafting process, during our early discussion on this DPO introduction to the country. Basically, the spirits of having DPO is to have a very strategic position, advisory positions, and also independent position in the companies, where this DPO has a full authority to observe the compliance of PDP in their company and to become a licensed officer to the commissioner office. Basically, they are also regarded as the internal compass for the PDP compliance matters. In the event of data breach, in other words, this DPO act as an organization internal compass for data protection matters. In the event of data breach, the DPO will wear multiple hats. First, it becomes the central coordinator in the company. They activate the internal breach response plan. They coordinate swift communication between various departments in the companies, and to ensure a proper documentation of event and decision from the outset. Second is the regulatory license officer, where this officer will facilitate communication for data breach notification submissions to the Commissioner Office, to respond any inquiries from the office, and share the investigation updates to the Commissioner Office. The third one is the compliance officer, where it assessing notification threshold, informing the data subjects, and also implementing corrective measure. DPO is not just a messenger. DPO basically is the first lines of communication between the company with the Commissioner Office. Their role is not meant to defend at any cost for the company, but to facilitate transparency, accountability, and cooperation to the Commissioner Office.
That's really amazing because I think that really provided a lot of clarity for companies to really understand the importance of having a DPO. Because a lot of time the companies will be thinking, look, DPO, I just need to appoint one, and then even the person may not know anything about PDP. I just appoint them just to cross the checklist. And then after listening to Prof Nazri, we all know that as a DPO, they are real responsibility for them to comply. Especially, they are the main key persons coordinating, main person responding, main person answering to any queries, especially from the PDPC office.
Mr. Justin, if I may add, DPO is not only an expert in legal or IT, but we perceive that this DPO is a leadership figure in organization. In the privacy ecosystem.
That's right.
So it's not only technical expert. It's not only legal expert, but a person who can coordinate, who can lead at any situation. He's the one who steer the ship in a difficult moment and ensure that organization act with integrity to the Commissioner Office.
Wow, so you heard it directly from the former PDP Commissioner of the importance of appointing the right DPO. So right now, I want to point the questions to Kai, just in case for the benefits of the audience. Right now, they understand, look, I need a DPO, but they don't even know in what situation do I need a DPO. They don't even know what are the requirements for them to appoint a DPO. But as we mentioned earlier, just a few days ago, the DPO competency guideline that actually both of us had the opportunity of actually be part of the drafting committee. There is the something called the KSA, the non-negotiable, the 6 key competency that as a DPO they need to satisfy as well. So Kai, can you maybe briefly explain to them in what situation you need a DPO, and even for the DPO, what are the key competency or the key legal requirements that they need to satisfy?
Yes, gladly. Thanks, Johnson. As I say this, I feel like a parrot already. The DPO requirements, under what circumstances a data controller and also a data processor will have to appoint a DPO. Essentially, under Malaysia law, there are 3 thresholds. The first one is, of course, if you process personal data of at least 20,000 data subjects, you will need a data protection officer. That's very, very easy to understand. Number 2, if you process sensitive personal data of up to 10,000 or rather more than 10,000 data subjects, you will need a DPO as well. So for sensitive personal data, the threshold is slightly lower, right? The quantitative threshold is slightly lower. Last would be a qualitative threshold. If any data controller, regardless of the number of data subjects you are engaging with, as long as your processes involve regular and systematic monitoring of your data subjects, of the personal data of your data subjects, you will need a DPO as well. So normally we get a lot of inquiries on this last qualitative assessment or rather threshold, right? What does it mean, regular and systematic monitoring of personal data? Essentially, I think you can a very clear example that we would normally give to our client is a smartwatch. Any smartwatch will normally monitor your heart rate, your heartbeat, your oxygen level, perhaps.
Your location.
Exactly, your location and how well do you sleep, right? So all these things create a profile of a person. So all these and that monitoring is regular and it's consistent. Right? It's probably as long as you wear it, it will track you.
Yes.
So all these things that would constitute the most common type of regular and systematic monitoring of data subjects.
Yep.
Another example would be, say, our company issued devices, our phone. If the phone actually has a tracking technology,
Yes.
and it tells the company where you are at all times when you're holding on to that device, that is also a form of regular and systematic monitoring.
Yep.
So as long as you fulfill any of these three thresholds, any of these three requirements, you will need to appoint a DPO.
Yeah.
Now, this brings me to my next point, and as what Johnson asked me just now, how do you make sure that you appoint someone who is really competent to be a DPO, right? Like it or not every company has the resources to outsource.
Yep.
So to some extent, of course, outsource can be cheaper, but at the same time, companies who really have no budget to outsource or even to hire a new headcounts, they will have to appoint someone internally,
Yes.
and existing personnel within the company. Then how do you make sure that person meets the competency requirements?
Yep.
So under the new DPO competency guideline, it actually sets out, like as you mentioned just now, 6 core competency areas that a DPO must meet. And a fun fact is that I was actually tasked to look into this particular guideline. Essentially, there were 9 key core
You're trying to
competencies
follow the
area.
one in Singapore and then they cut it down.
Yes, there were 9, and now
Yeah.
we try to localize it. So we believe that in Malaysia, to fulfill the requirement of a DPO in Malaysia,
Yes.
there are 6 core competency areas that you need to look into. Number 1 is, I'm paraphrasing here, I'm summarizing. Of course, for those of you who are interested to know more, please download a copy of the guideline. It's available on JPDP's website.
Yes.
The first competency area would be to provide advice to organizations, to the data controllers and data processors that have appointed you on their responsibilities as under the PDPA.
Yep.
Number 2 is to conduct risk assessment.
Yep.
So any data processing activities will have risk in terms of PDPA.
Yep.
So you need to be able to identify those risks and come up with risk mitigation measures. So number 3 would be compliance oversight.
Yeah.
So of course, a data controller and a data processor may have new data processing activities,
Definitely.
right? They may not always follow the same procedures.
Yep.
They will have new products. So when you have a new product, you need to make sure as a DPO that the new data processing activity is also in compliance with the law.
Yes.
So that's where number 3 comes in. Number 4 is audit. Audit is particularly or specifically focusing on continuous compliance with the obligations under the PDPA.
Definitely.
Number 5 would be, I would say, one of the most important core competency areas. It's stakeholders engagement.
Yep.
Just now, Prof, you mentioned that DPO should take a leadership figure, right? So under these core competency areas, you're supposed to be that compass to your internal stakeholders, your board of directors, your senior management, advise them and teach them, make sure that they know what the company need to do to fulfill their responsibilities as a keeper of personal data, as protector of personal data, right? And at the same time, under this core competency area, you are also expected to be the liaison.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
liaison officer.
key point of contact with the PDPC. So you need to engage with 2 main groups of stakeholders, internally and externally,
Yeah.
particularly the PDPC. Last but not least, the last competency areas is, I would say, also is the third group of stakeholders, right? Your data subjects.
Yeah.
The personal data, whom you collect personal data from. You need to make sure that you know how to manage them when they come to you with any of their data subject requests.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that companies know how to manage and how to handle those requests accordingly, especially in the event of a personal data breach.
Yes.
You need to tell them how they must, or rather what they need to do to protect their own interests.
Yes, correct. I think one of the key terms that we are hearing right now is certainly about DPO and also leadership. So, of course, right now, I also want to ask Prof. Nazri on your opinion on this part. Actually, a very common trend that we are seeing right now in the market is we actually see some companies that appoint DPO quite randomly. In the sense that when I use the word randomly, do allow me to provide some context. For example, they'll be appointing, for example, the HR manager, the accountants, IT admins to become the DPO. I'm not saying that they are not allowed to. They can also be appointed as DPO. But the scary thing, or maybe I use the word, the dangerous part is some of them, they came to me, they say, look, on top of not knowing anything about law, on top of not coming from a legal background, most of them they know nothing about PDPA. So they say that they don't even know what is PDP notice. They have no idea how to do any form of gap analysis. They have no idea, assuming right now, if I want to process your data, do I need consent or not? They have no idea what is biometrics data. They have no idea that if I want to process any personal data, I need explicit consent. Yep. They don't even know that, look, if I want to transfer my data to my HQ that is based in Singapore, I may need to go through Section 129 of PDPA, all this thing. In other words, they are absolutely clueless when it comes to PDPA. And they are just being appointed because the company asked them to do so. They know literally nothing about PDPA. Yeah. And a lot of time, the defense coming from the company is the law never say that if I appoint the wrong person, I will be penalized. So in the case, what's wrong for me to actually just appoint my admin just to become the DPO as long as I can satisfy the legal requirement? So we really want to hear it directly from you, Prof, as a former PDP commissioner. What are your thoughts about this, and how will you advise this situation?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Appointing unqualified DPO or not authorized DPO, I think this DPO concept is a very new in the country. We don't put at the top of our list for punishment purposes.
Of course.
We are more on educating, instill a new culture in the country.
Yep.
Some people, they feel that if they don't appoint DPO or they just appoint anyone in their companies as a DPO without giving a proper training and so on, no harm for that. Because in our amendment, there is no specific provision for penalty, right?
Correct.
So what's wrong? So if you don't appoint, if you just appoint anyone, so nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
There's no provision. Allow me to update this statement. Some people, they keep claiming that no provisions for this particular scenario or situation. Again, let me put a small disclaimer. So I'm no longer a commissioner. So whatever that I give is based on my personal opinion and based on my past experience. So I would say we do have two provisions under our Act. The first one is the Section 101 PDPA, where this provision gives the commissioner the legal authority to enter and inspect the premise of any data controller to ensure compliance to the PDPA.
Yes.
So the commissioner may authorize an inspection if there is a complaint and there is a reasonable belief that the organization or company is not complying with the PDPA. During the inspection, the commissioner may investigate whether the DPO was competent, whether the organization give a full support for this DPO, and so on. So an unqualified DPO can be used as evidence of negligence or willful non-compliance that resulting to enforcement action. That one is my first point.
Yeah, definitely.
Second point, you can see from the Section 108 of the PDPA. If there is a complaint from public or anybody, the commissioner can issue an enforcement. If a person failed to comply to the commissioner enforcement notice, they commit an offence. And upon conviction, may liable to a fine not exceeding 200,000 or imprisonment up to 2 years or both. My word of advice to the public, basically, please appoint a right DPO and also support the DPO function in their organization. Treating the DPO roles is as a checkbox is just a poor governance. That leads to a legal liability. Under both Section 101 and 108, an unqualified DPO can expose to organizations to regulatory and enforcement action.
Essentially, if a ship with a broken compass would just be lost in the ocean, right? To use your analogy just now.
Correct. So you hear it directly right now from Prof. Nazri. And also there is also the very similar advice and the comment that we're giving to our client by saying, look, as a DPO, it is really important because ultimately DPO is the ones with the most understanding towards the processing of personal data within your organization. They will be the one advising the company what to do.
Yeah.
So especially during a data breach, they are the main key persons going through the whole investigation and inspection process as well. So appointing the right DPO, appointing a properly trained DPO, appointing a qualified DPO is extremely important. I also want to throw the question to Kai, a very practical question. Because as a DPO, you can come from internal source, you can come from external source or anything else because the law, we do provide the flexibility for the clients or for the audience that are listening to it right now. They say, look, I know that I need to appoint a DPO and then maybe I'm just operating a clinic, maybe I'm just operating a cafe. And then I look through everyone, I look through my 30 headcounts. None of them are qualified to actually take up this particular role. So what are they supposed to do? None of them are qualified. They don't even want to become the DPO because for them, they want to focus on doing what they are good at. So what would your advice be, Kai?
Yeah. So I guess the assumption here is a company or a business have already looked internally at their existing headcount and they've come to the conclusion that, okay, the current 30 headcounts that I have, nobody is qualified to be a DPO. What do I do now, right? So the natural thing that people would think of is to, then why don't I just hire someone? I create a new dedicated headcount. Someone who is equipped with the knowledge of PDPA and that 6 core competency areas that I've mentioned just now to be the new headcount, taking charge of the PDPA compliance or PDPA related matters within the company. But like it or not, doing that would be expensive because you have to pay a new person, a new flesh and blood. And that person may not even know how to run a restaurant. So the person is really just there to make sure that you are in compliance with PDPA. That may be a huge waste of resources. So a better option would be to consider outsourcing. Right? You appoint a service provider, law firms essentially that provide this sort of DPO as a service. You appoint them as your external consultant, external service providers. They will then come and do the necessary to help you to put in place necessary processes and policies to be in compliance with the PDPA. Now, of course, if even then you don't have the budget to spare to outsource, right? Then I would say the third option would be, this is not recommended, but I guess there are desperate measures. That there are desperate times which requires desperate measures. You appoint someone internally, one of your existing 30 headcounts. You make sure that you send the person for training. You upskill the person. We mentioned just now the core competency areas. So with the recently published guidelines, essentially the country will be moving towards a direction where there will be a lot of, I would say, recognized training service providers out there providing well-structured PDPA compliance training, especially for DPO. So if you have appointed an existing headcount to be the DPO, you can consider, or rather you should send that particular headcount for training to make sure that the person is well equipped with the core competencies expected of a DPO.
I think one of the key things that we actually want to emphasize is the flexibility and also the options available. So actually under the leadership of Prof. Nazri, the whole DPO ecosystem is already very well established. First of all, you can internally appoint someone to become the DPO, or otherwise you can outsource DPO to law firms like us, or otherwise, as mentioned by Kai, because of the very new the PDP guidelines and documents that is just being mentioned earlier, also being launched earlier, you can also send someone to be properly trained to ensure that the newly appointed DPO, they will be properly equipped, properly trained, properly empowered to carry out the functions effectively. To be honest, we are getting this question a lot because us as a law firm, we provide 3 services. So for us, we are the DPO for many companies. At the same time, we also provide training to train our DPO. And similarly for us, we also providing DPO supporting services. So of course, we do provide different range of services. And right now, we really want to understand from your view, Prof. So depending on the complexity of the data processing of the company, depending on the size, depending on the PDP maturity, what would your advice be? Because right now there are so many options. There are times with options come with confusion as well. For them, they say that, look, right now I really have no idea what to do. the good thing is I have options, but I do not know what is the best for the clients, what is the best for the company. So how would you actually advise them in order for us to really wrap up this particular episode?
Yeah, spot on, Mr. Johnson. Let me say this up front. There is no one size fit all. So appointing DPO is important.
Yep.
And its functions must be effective, credible, and meets the organization capability.
Yep.
So, like I said, we are in the early stage of this introduction. Let's break it down a little. So, if you are a small company, okay, we would advise you you can outsource the role to any law firms or professional consultancy. You can immediately get access to legal and regulatory expertise, or you just appoint the current staff that you have in your company and send them for training. However, if you are a mid-size of growing companies, so you can use some internal capacity or hybrid model, if I may say. So means that someone internally observe and you partner with the external party.
Yep.
So someone who understand the whole full-fledged of or the full-fledged of the act. So if you're a larger company, so you may set up your own DPO team.
Yeah.
And you can make sure that don't forget to have a continuous training. The law isn't meant to punish. So we want to support the industry to create this culture where they have the DPO in the company.
So really thank you so much, as we hear directly that the law is not meant to punish, but the law is really here to support and also to supplement and so to really complete the entire PDP landscape, PDP ecosystem within Malaysia. Because ultimately every company would play a very important role for us to actually push our privacy standards to match the global privacy standards as well. So this will actually bring us to an end to our episode 24 and the second installment in our Malaysia PDPA Authority Series featuring none other than Prof Nazri. And we are leaving the best to the last episode. So in the last episode will be released in the next 2 weeks. We are going to go a lot deeper into data breach notifications and also the whole investigation and inspection process, something that you will never want to miss. So please give us a follow, give us a shout out, and also please share our content if you enjoy listening to it as much as we enjoy producing as well. You are listening directly from Johnson's, and thank you so much for supporting the Legal Insight podcast produced none other by HHQ. Stay tuned and see you in the next episode. Thank you.